Nothing, because awareness is always now. Always. If you're aware of yesterday, or aware of then you're creating time, aware of time. But awareness itself has no time. Okay? It's always now. And in that now, even if you feel it for a moment, you know who you are. Who are you when you see that awareness is all there is? Who are you?
Just a heart as big as the world.
Exactly.
That's all.
Yeah. Everything is coming from this vantage point, from this field of experience.
Yeah.
But since there is no personal I, you see, whatever you see, whatever you feel is in your field of experience. So therefore you feel like, you know, here, this and that is all part of who I am. See? And that becomes the highest knowledge. I'd like to ask you a question here. When we feel emotional pain, we are helpless against it. Right? When we feel emotional pain, we're helpless. Yes. If an emotional feeling comes, did you ever try to control it? It doesn't work, does it?
It has the opposite effect.
It has the opposite effect. So we are helpless against the thoughts that come to our mind, against any emotional feelings, anything that happens to us. We are helpless to control it. Who's helpless? Who's being helpless?
The human. The human part. The physical.
Okay. Now let's go into this because the human and the being is very, very a beautiful way of looking at it, because it gives you greater clarity in the sense that we can use words to understand this. You see, the human is the appearance that we have here, and the being is what's doing it all. The being is the oneness. And there's nothing but oneness. Oneness does everything, thinks everything, feels everything. Everything is done by oneness. There is no you who does anything. So now when we go about the human, we realize that the human is just an appearance. There is no human. There's just being, appearing as a human. You see, as we start to go deeper, and today I'd like to go a little deeper in order to understand the non-existence of the thinker. See? We have to really go that deep in order to understand that. So where were we?
Who created the...
Right, so who is being helpless? Yeah.
I would say it's the beliefs. You have a fixed belief, crystallized thoughts. You encounter something which doesn't match that. And of course that limited part that says, I am this, is completely helpless. Because you're encountering something beyond it.
Beautiful. Yes. Yeah. So it is the belief, isn't it? The structure, the thought process that creates the idea of helplessness. But helplessness doesn't exist. That was beautiful. Yeah. So this is where we have to go. You see, when we understand there is no thinker, there is no helplessness, there is no victim, there is no controller, and there is no one who has free will. You see, the most beautiful thing that you can experience is that you don't have free will. And when you realize you have no free will, you're free as a bird. Is that a paradox? You bet it is. But feel it. If you realize you have no free will, that means you're not in control. That means all decisions and choices and everything else are being done through you. And you're free. You're free. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to make any decisions. You don't have to do anything. Just let your heart do it all through you. When I say heart, I mean oneness, okay? The totality. So you see?
When you're saying free will, it's It's like will is the choice. There is some things I'm going to be aware of, and some things I'm not going to be aware of.
Yes. Now, do we have that choice?
Well, we can create it.
We can. How do we create it?
By separating ourselves from, well, creating boundaries, decisions, thoughts. I am not this.
Okay, so if you say, okay, you listen to a talk like this and you say, okay, from now on, I want to live more aware. Okay, isn't that kind of a decision? It is a kind of a decision, okay? But is there a way in which we can be more aware in the moment? It feels like a choice, but it's very, very subtle.
There is really nothing else.
It's the realization that there is nothing else. And it becomes a shift in itself. That even when there is fear, that's beautiful, even when there is fear, it is still somehow or other a need or a call for love, you see? So there's also, when we come down to it, there's only love playing all the roles. We call it oneness, okay? We call it totality. So it's a shift of seeing that there's only that and nothing else. It's just like looking through a mirror, not a mirror, sorry, a glass. You're looking through the window and you open the curtains and you see outside and you see everything and it's very clear. You see? And then there's a bug or some dirt on the window glass. Did you ever see that? And you narrow your vision to see what's on the glass. Did you see how the outside goes out of focus? Right, the outside goes out of focus. What happened there? Was there really a choice made? Not really. It's what you became aware of. And there was a shift in awareness. Similarly with us, between love and fear. You see? There is simply shifting. Are we willing to see love in everything? In everything. You know, I used to believe many years ago when I was a psychology enthusiast, I used to believe that fear exists. But in reality it does not exist at all. And all it needs is just that shift. So you don't choose to love, you don't choose to fear. You allow yourself to see that there is only love. You see? And if there is fear and you're totally caught in that fear, totally caught, okay, then you allow yourself to be caught and experience it totally. Now there is some people that have said, oh, I'm feeling the fear, but it's still there, it remains there, it nags me. Then you haven't seen it totally. Then you're still holding on to it. But if a fear exists in you, you have to be total in that experience of that fear. Are you understanding me? I say total and absolute experience of that fear. Until even the fear itself becomes just a mere sensation. Just a mere nothing.
Something you said earlier about the thought to choose awareness. Well, if you look at that, there's the assumption you're choosing awareness, therefore there is something that isn't awareness.
That's right.
So of course that thought is limiting.
That thought is limited, exactly. There's actually only awareness, which is love, which is knowing, which is oneness. And that's all that there is. Anything else is what you're aware of, which is a lie, which is not real. You see? Because there's only one will. The Course in Miracles says there's only one will, the will of God. And then people will say, but thy will be done, not mine, but thy will be done. This is redundant. There's no such thing as my will, thy will, and thy will be done. There's only will. There's only one will. You see? There's no such thing as my will or your will. There's just will. And the will of that oneness is everyone's will, because it's love.